spiritual experiences first began when I was a baby. I was very aware of the world around me, and I remember several experiences where I was fully capable of forming sentences in my mind, but unable to actually say anything. I've had many experiences seeing angels and visions of what I perceive to be God's presence, among other strange experiences that would happen, including some very dark and scary encounters. The hidden parts of reality have always been ever present to me throughout my entire life. I was raised on Christian beliefs, but my parents weren't strict about religion within the home, so I was free to explore and discover for myself. My dad even once told me that I can believe whatever I wanted to believe in as long as I accepted Jesus as my Lord and Savior. During my teen years, I became a practicing Wiccan. Around the age of 14, my mom bought me my very first tarot deck for my birthday, the Cosmic Tarot. I performed very few tarot readings for others, so my experience mostly comes from using tarot for my own personal needs and within my craft. In my mid-20s, I decided to no longer practice tarot and basically ended my witchcraft and spiritual practices altogether. For several years, I sort of just jumped around from one belief to another, mostly between Christianity and basically just believing in a higher power, but not really caring too much or placing any significant importance on it. Around the year 2011, I began questioning my existence and the meaning of life. This was largely due to my research into conspiracy theories and just seeing the terrible things that go on behind the scenes. It made me feel like, okay, what's the point of it all then? If there's really so much evil being done, why are we here? And why are they getting away with it? This led me to discovering the Eastern practices of Hinduism and yoga, and eventually led me on a path I would refer to as my spiritual awakening. It was a highly personal, highly spiritual path of self-discovery. I experienced many activations, some of which would last for months and cause me all sorts of panic attacks. Nonetheless, I was waking up a part of myself and my soul that, much like most of everybody else, had laid dormant. So although I'm no stranger to the spiritual aspects of life, this was the first time I set out on a real spiritual path. There was a point in my journey where I went into deep solitude, having lucid dreams, inducing prophetic visions, and experiencing a sense of oneness with the universe. It was truly a very beautiful and lovely experience, despite the panic attacks, and it's one I probably could never replicate the same way again. One day, I remember asking the universe to send me a sign. I asked for a belief that wasn't a religion, but still had some sort of religious practice. Something that was highly spiritual, but was tangible and physical and real in the sense that I can see it. And most importantly, something that could explain the meaning of life to me. This led me to discovering astrology, and I first got into it through the Vedic system. Since I was already somewhat familiar with the Hindu faith and I was looking for something that was real and something that I could even see with my own eyes, I tapped into the Vedic astrology. It follows the Sidereal system instead of the zodiacal tropical system, so it's based on the fixed location of the celestial bodies instead of the seasons. I remember watching a video from the KRS astrology channel here on YouTube about the Virgo rising sign, and I just started to cry. Like, never has there been anything in this world that made me feel so understood before. Not to this level of understanding anyways. It really gave me exactly what I was looking for in my search for meaning and purpose, as well as my own self-discovery. Because the system is so complex and the Vedic practice is very ritualistic and follows many rules, I didn't want to be disrespectful of it and decided to switch to tropical astrology. Also, a tropical astrology at this time, around the year 2016, was really getting its social media bearings. So there were all this new and fresh content being released, making it more easily accessible compared to the Vedic astrology content of that time. It was exciting to be a part of the earlier stages of it before social media influencers turned it into pop astrology. My strong psychic and intuitive abilities took a pause again later in 2016. I had once again cut myself off from my personal abilities. So much of the magic in my life completely dissipated. However, astrology was there to keep me grounded and to keep me into something that was self-fulfilling. Within the following year, I met a group of people through a channel here on YouTube. One of the members created a Twitter group chat and invited everyone to come join if they were interested. Since I didn't know anybody who was into astrology, I went ahead and joined the group. I met some amazing astrologers and tarot readers in this group chat who really expanded my knowledge. Through this group, a friend of mine gifted me a tarot deck. I told her I used to do tarot readings and I used to be really tuned into my psychic abilities, but haven't been connected with that part of myself anymore. One day, she sent me a tarot deck, the Easy Tarot. This had to have been around the year 2018, so about 6 years after I quit reading tarot cards. For a few years, I had to reteach myself everything since most of it was lost onto me. I started doing tarot readings for myself during the new moons and would incorporate a spread that I had created into my new moon manifestations. I began doing free tarot readings online and on social media before I started offering paid private tarot readings on my Etsy shop. I began studying Kabbalah and Kabbalah Tarot about 2 years ago, so my knowledge of Kabbalah is very beginner, very amateur, although much of what I've been learning are concepts that I'm already familiar with. There's also a lot of my own intuition that has played an important role for me, so in a sense, I may have some advanced knowledge of Kabbalah, but it's fair and safe to say that I am a total beginner. The reason why I got into Kabbalah is because of tarot. I found out that tarot could be combined with Kabbalah, and for some reason that just fascinated me. I also remember seeing the Tree of Life in my tarot and witchcraft books when I was a teenager, so it had already been imprinted onto me from the distant past. In my spiritual searches, I want to get to the source. I want to go to the root of it all. And since tarot is so heavily influenced by Hermeticism and Kabbalah, that's where I naturally gravitated to. I seem to agree with many of the concepts and beliefs as well, even though I'm a total pagan at heart. It's truly a very fascinating practice. When I first tried to get into Kabbalah many years ago, it was very confusing and hard to understand. Back then, the concepts were not familiar to me. I remember watching videos and would have no idea what anyone was saying. A big barrier for me was the Hebrew language. Having never really heard it before and not knowing any Hebrew words at all, it was simply just hard to understand and to grasp what anyone was talking about. So it took coming back to it many years later for me to finally get it. And even when I got into it this time around, it was still hard to understand, but after a few months, I was able to really pick up on it. So if you're completely new to this and you have no clue about any of what I've been discussing, then all I could really say is to give it time, because eventually you'll be able to understand it too. Learning the Hebrew words and how the language operates is very crucial in my opinion. For the past 3 years, I've been going through what I would refer to as another spiritual awakening. And this time, it hasn't been pleasant at all. There's been a lot of what people call shadow work, a lot of ego deaths, a lot of suppressed memories coming back to the surface. And so I'm having to heal a lot of parts of myself that I suppressed in the past since childhood, since I was a baby, to recent events in the past few years that have made a traumatic impact on me. Since I'm currently going through this, whatever this is, this awakening, this initiation of sorts, perhaps I'll talk about it another time. So for now, I just wanted to briefly mention it.